Sporting Denver.
I thought I'd just drop.
Sporting Denver. Sporting Denver.
Sporting Denver.
Sporting Denver.
Birds of prey. We got Kilimanjaro. We got reptiles. We are gonna go totally electric. Reptiles, Kilimanjaro. What's all that about? Well, if we're looking at footy, soccer being electric, we are going to speak with Mr. Electric, Bob Boyle, Colorado native, legend in the game at grassroots. Bob, what up, Buttercup?
What's happening, Rich?
Well, tie you down, Bob. Got you on board. And what's happening with you, mate? Straight off, it's a personal note, Bob. Sorry about that. You know, I come straight in. Bit of a transition pre-Christmas, going into the new year, mate. What's happening? Lifestyle, family, and all the good stuff.
All's good on the family and friends front. Working quite a bit on the soccer front, actually, with family as well. My daughter's a sophomore at East, so I've been volunteering, helping out over there. Coach Short was kind enough to let myself and a few others come out and help out, chip in with the team, and that's been phenomenal because I'm usually on the other side of the field and watching, cheering, and supporting, and now I get the best seat in the house on the coaching side. So it's been a nice surprise. I've had a lot of fun with that.
So a bit of a transition there, Bob, from the bleachers and the atmosphere and letting off flares and the scarf and chanting. You're actually now in the technical area, and that's high school, right, Bob?
That's high school. That's Denver East High School girls varsity program. It's been a challenging year so far for the kids over at East. So the soccer's been a nice outlet for the girls, myself included as a parent over there. But it's you're in the heat of the moment there when you're on the bench side, right? Without all the accountability, because I'm not the head coach or the assistant coach. I'm just a lowly volunteer. So I get to chip in and help out where you need to set up cones or coach will occasionally ask for some advice or some perspective. So it's relatively, I would say I get the fun part of the job of just kind of working with the kids, the players, my daughter and her friends and teammates. And I could do that all day long.
Yeah, I've seen you in, that was a very humble statement. Bob, I've seen you in operation. I know what you bring to the knowledge of the game, the technical, tactical aspects. So, and off the field as well in that technical area and behind the scenes off the park, what you do to bring value to the other coaches that you work with and certainly the players. So that's a big shout out to you, Bob. And long may it continue. I know you're enjoying it. I'm going to jump on Camplify, soccer camps, clinics, all the good stuff. 6 hours a day, 5 hours a day, 3 hours a day. Soccer electric, Camplify. I know a bit about it. A lot of people don't. Camplify, Bob. What is it, mate?
Yeah, so we're in our 10th season. I guess our 10th year of camp. Officially, it's been 9 camps because the COVID year is of course absent from that history. But the camp started at City Park. Really, just friends of friends getting together. A 1-week camp. It was a small fundraiser for several nonprofits, partners, and schools in Northeast Denver. And it's just grown over the years. We've had a lot of fun with it. We've grown partnerships, deepened our partnership with Denver East High School, with the C Film Center. They've been phenomenal partners. The Katie Adamson Conservation Fund have been incredible partners. Art Garage. We've got other folks coming in to help with conservation. So STEAM activities. So it's essentially soccer and STEAM, where STEAM being science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. So there's a variety of things that happen in the afternoon of the camp. So the soccer is always kind of core in the morning. Kids run around 2.5 hours of soccer, all levels of players. And there's essentially formed into groups assigned to coaches, and they go at it for 2.5 hours. Just a variety of games, rotational stuff, kids mixed up by it, to some extent sorted by ability and skill level, but for the most part, the kids are all mixed up. And they're done. They're ready to take a break by the end of the soccer in the morning. Then we go to lunch break, and then it's all of the various activities, whether it's a conservation activity, a movie, an emerging filmmakers workshop that we usually kick off the camp. The first afternoon of the camp is focused on filmmaking, so the kids can work with local filmmakers. They will work with local filmmakers to understand storytelling and character development and presentation skills, and then ultimately putting their own mini films together.
So football in the morning,
yeah.
Technical, tactical, all the good stuff, and having fun, various events. And then you've integrated, am I right in saying, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, like, are these local people that come in? So we're building that community inside Camplify with these events, like you said, filmmaking, etc. Denver Zoo. Is that how you work that, Bob?
That's correct. Yeah, they're actually. You mentioned Denver Zoo. That's actually about a half-mile away from the campsite. So there's a lot of opportunity to engage there. The folks that are on staff over there are also, in some cases, working on conservation activities outside of the zoo with other nonprofits. Dave Johnson is a great partner. He is the executive director of the Katie Adamson Conservation Fund. So he'll come in for 1 or 2 afternoons. He's also a children's book author, so he's got lots of books with animal themes, wildlife themes. He'll do a lot of things. He'll kind of build his own curriculum at least one afternoon during the week. So a lot of what's happened over the years is friends of friends have introduced us to other partners. The Art Garage is based in the Park Hill neighborhood, about a mile east of Denver East High School. They've been phenomenal after-school program partners of ours. They've been camp partners for the last 4 years. They'll be back again this year. So there'll be a full afternoon with them just dedicated to whatever art activities or creative activities they bring into the mix.
Can I stay on the art thing? Because I did witness something a couple of years back, and thank you for the invitation to that camp that year. Could you explain we had paint, we had a big mat, we had people with no shoes on, we had a soccer ball, we're under trees out of the heat that year because it was very hot. Can you explain what went off? I know, but if you could explain to everyone, I found that quite amazing, Bob, what you did there with that art. What experiment, I suppose?
It was an experiment. It was a little adventure. It was a mess. The kids, the game you're referencing was a thing where the art teacher who was assigned to the project to camp that year brought in his own version of soccer meets art, and he just pulled out a big tarp, divvied the kids up into teams. He filled up a bunch of bins with paint. The kids got barefoot. They jumped in, got their feet all painted up, and then he threw a ball out onto the canvas, and they just played, and that was their art. So, when they were done, so it was, I'd say, half hour or so, 45 minutes ish. We went off to see a movie across the street at the C Film Center, came back later, and their art project was completed, had dried, and a couple of the kids, I think they cut it up into several pieces, and the kids took their art home, and then we cleaned up the mini disaster. So it was, that was a big part of the project for us on staff, but it was worth it.
I think the mixture, do you find that the mixture of obviously footy, soccer, and then these other activities, which are different each day, do you get a mix of campers coming in for the pockets of what they want for it? Is there a wide range of, campers, Bob?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that a lot of the feedback and the testimonials we've gotten over the years from parents and from kids is that We got one example of a family where the kids are triplets, and they've come back. I think this will be the 4th year they've been in camp, and the mom always talks about how there's 2 boys and a girl. That one of the boys is just a soccer nut, so he comes for the soccer. He enjoys the stuff in the afternoon. And then the daughter and the other son, I think the other son is a film nut, so he's into movies and filmmaking, and so that's kind of his thing at the camp. And then the girl is an artist, an aspiring artist, so that's her thing. But the soccer's set up in the morning. It's accessible. We also we'll serve elite players, so we'll have staff there that once we've identified kids who are, and there are kids, I would say 20% or so of the kids are very serious about their soccer. So, usually half hour or so in, we start to sort that out, start to figure out, okay, what do the kids need? What are they looking for? And we'll have isolated sessions for elite players who are there for the soccer. But like I said earlier, by the time the soccer's over, all of them at all levels are ready to relax, and they're actually ready to, I wouldn't call it studying. They're not in the classroom by any stretch. These are very interactive, creative activities. 3 or 4 of the days will include a film or a movie over at the film center, and those guys are phenomenal partners as well. They've offered up their theaters for a variety of things beyond just the film. So I think those theaters seat 90 to 100 kids. And 2, 3, 4 of those days could be a movie combined with some other activity in the theater. Many of the afternoon activities, as you said earlier, can be done in the shade. There's that stretch next to the stadium at East High School of road where it's all shaded. So, it can heat up in the afternoon, and a lot of the afternoon activities are in the shade, or they're across the street at the film center.
I know you've had this, vision to maybe grow it. But what have you seen? The biggest thing that stuck out for you from 9/10 sessions ago, summers ago, to now? What has been the biggest impact for you there, Bob, within Camplify?
One of the more rewarding things lately that I've noticed is I don't, unlike in the first few years of camp, where I knew essentially every time I saw registration come through, it was somebody that we knew. It was a friend of a friend. It was my own kids. I have 3 kids who all grew up playing soccer here in Northeast Denver in the Park Hill neighborhood with the local clubs, with the local schools. So typically the camp would fill up with friends of ours, neighbors, friends of friends, and I would generally recognize, or we would know everybody at the camp. That's not the case anymore. We get to know, we've many new friendships that develop on the pitch among the kids, but among families as well at camp. And these are kids and families and folks that we're meeting for the first time. So that's been one of the more rewarding aspects of the camp these last few years, is getting to know new folks, new friends, and in some cases introducing kids and families to soccer for the first time. The ages of the kids range from emerging 1st graders to emerging 8th graders. And then our staff, our junior coaches, our senior coaches are generally local high school players, college players. A couple of pro players will come out every year. So, that's part of that, is just to make sure we've got a diverse range of coaching interest and capabilities to meet the interest and the needs of the kids. Like I said, there are kids that come out that are very serious about their soccer. Yeah. Others want to run around for a bit, get some exercise, and then watch a movie or participate in activities in the afternoon.
You mentioned...
My name's Nick Evans. Just rode my kids over on this bike to the Camplify soccer camp, and it's a blast. They're having so much fun here this summer. I like the split between soccer and then some arts and crafts in the afternoon. Super fun, would recommend.
Hi, my name is Riley Boyle, and I'm a junior coach at Camplify, and I'm here because I love soccer and I love being able to coach kids at soccer.
skill. Use your skill.
Oh my God!
It's a fully holistic approach, because what I've witnessed it, Bob. Anyway, the integration of your staff, not just the experienced coaches, but also involving, like you said, high school or college coaches to come in. Who brought that idea to fruition? How did that happen?
Honestly, with that, I mean, it turns out that us old guys who are there do an okay job on the risk management and the safety stuff and the communications, administrative stuff. But the kids, the campers, prefer the rock stars. To them are the high school and college players / coaches, junior coaches. Those are the role models. Those young coaches, young up and coming coaches, and in many cases, they're still players who are very serious about their game, taking their game to the next level. And the kids pick up on that young energy. And I have to admit, I'm a little bit envious, because I remember being a coach at camps in late high school and through college and after college. And, I think that's a fun and rewarding thing for the coaches, that they realize, wow. And I think in many cases, the young coaches realize, I know like I did, that while they're coaching, they're actually developing their own game, as they're kind of regurgitating everything they've learned through the game, teaching kids now. And maybe, who knows, maybe they've got a little more empathy for their own coaches, after they get an understanding of how challenging it can be to coach at times, to get the attention of, because the kid will set up typically, and our ratio is 8 to 10 players per coach. And, in some cases, a young coach can have more than that. A young coach might have 12, 15 players, and they've got to figure out, okay, how to hold their attention, energize and entertain that group for 2.5 hours, come up with curriculum. So I think, when all's said and done, they develop their own game as players themselves, but they also, I think, learn to relate to their own coaches a little bit better.
The campers coming in, I know the numbers have grown over a period of time. Has the junior coaches, the high schoolers, the college, I say junior coaches, high school players, because they're still players learning the trade, has those numbers grown, Bob, in terms of, hey, I want to be part of this?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's never really a challenge getting enough coaches out there. We've got a waiting list now of coaches that have said they're available. They want to come out and coach, and we want to include all of them if at all possible. So that's actually the camp. We've added a second week of camp this year for the first time. So it's the first 2 weeks of June. So in the next probably 2-3 weeks from now, we'll be connecting directly with the coaches, starting to organize the staff, starting to communicate, finding out their availability. Some of them have limited availability, so we have a guest coaching program where coaches can come in, and the way the pitch is set up, the soccer field is set up during the day, is there's generally like 4 quadrants on the field, if you will,
right.
and
Yeah.
then there's a center space for a guest coach of the day. So there's always a way to involve coaches that want to get involved or interested, even if they're only available for a day or for, say, 75 minutes in the morning, to come over. And it's kind of, that can be a little break for the coaches who are there all week as well. It gives us an option to say, okay, there's a guest coach in the middle of the field. We'll set it up. The scheduling is set up in a way that you can send your group over. You can pre-schedule a time to send your group over, and they'll rotate through that guest coach.
Sure.
And then the coach gets a little bit of a break, the coach who's with those kids all day, because our coaches stay with the kids, with the group they're assigned to, not only in the morning, but then they become sort of assistants and helpers in the afternoon for those activities.
and I've seen, on that note, working with a coach, getting familiar, obviously the junior coaches, the rock stars that can do those demonstrations, Bob, that maybe some of the older generation coaches aren't capable of doing anymore. So that works. I've seen some competitive edge there as well in some fun games, some challenges. Do you enjoy integrating that with, I've seen Hank, I've seen you do that. Do you see that competitive spirit, excuse me, as well as that huge fun factor as well within your campus, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, it's safety and fun first, of course, but there's a way, competition's a tricky thing. We've got to be, especially at a camp like this, we've got to be on watch for the level and age of players. But we want to make sure that there's a healthy spirit of competition in all of the games, or even collaboration. A lot of the competition is, okay, here's 3 other kids you've never met. You're in a group of 4. You guys have some problems to solve together, and then you're going to form a team in some sort of a soccer related game and go out and figure out how to solve problems. So you kind of view competition in that way as well. And there may be multiple groups working on their strategy, and then they come together in the game, and it may or may not even involve a soccer ball. There's a lot of activities that our coaches will bring in, and they're very creative. Those, they're still players. Our most of our coaches are still young players, up and coming high school players, college players. So they've got a lot of creative ideas that they bring to the mix, and very watchful of the level of players. Watching the group closely for the energy levels in the group, the how engaged are all of the kids. It's a soccer camp. These are full days of activities. So just like in a school setting, kids can drift in and out sometimes. So our coaches they learn to be on watch for that. And that's where some of us older coaches can help out by kind of mentoring and supporting the younger coaches, maybe making suggestions where needed. But we do give a lot of ownership to those young coaches to come up with fun games and energize their groups.
I will say, and I'm selling it here, and it's free. It's a freebie, Bob. Camplify is the most unique structure, format, camp, for a better phrase, I've ever seen. So it's commendable. It's unique. If anybody's listening to this, and some people do, check in with Mr. Electric, Bob Boyle, because you will not regret it. Footy, Kilimanjaro, a movie, reptiles, experienced coaches, junior coaches, and it's one big happy family with the local businesses. I'm going to hit you with one last question here, Bob. Futsal, because I know you Camplify and camps are summer, and then you twist it over to do a little bit of futsal, 303 futsal, something along those lines, Bob. Skills, etc. How's that panning out for you, mate?
That's our winter programming. So, that's generally going to appeal to elite players, although it's a very accessible game. It's generally played on a hard court. It's very similar to basketball. The regulation form of futsal is 5-a-side, just like basketball. Goals are set up on a court. There's a goalkeeper and 4 field players, or court players, if you will. And it's small-sided. It's fast. It's skills intensive. It can get very tactical. So it's a great complementary training activity for outdoor soccer players, especially here in Colorado in the wintertime. So we get a good solid 2.5-3 months of futsal in every winter. But we'll do a fair amount of futsal type activities at the camps as well. There's a lot of things you can do with small-sided games. In fact, when I was growing up, we didn't do a lot of small-sided games in the U.S. anyway. And nowadays, futsal's huge, and most of the clubs are doing some form of futsal programming year-round. So I always look at it, even with my own kids, I look at it as is kind of a break from soccer, or kind of a break in some cases from their club environment. That's the way we set up our programming. Is it's generally played in a pickup style, small sided format in a gym in the wintertime. And training groups come together on weeknights, and then we'll generally play some league play on the weekends. Some of the more serious players will organize, and usually these are parent driven things, but we'll organize and go to tournaments, go to regional and national tournaments in the wintertime.
And that's available for any clubs or high schools, or what, a group of kids that just want to get together and get in touch with you to go indoor futsal, right, Bob?
Yeah, there's some information. I think at our website it's geared toward, the messaging there is geared toward competitive players, but we do a lot of after school programming. Don't necessarily call it futsal. Sometimes it's referred to as street soccer. And the basic idea there is that kids, as you well know, in England, five-a-side, right? It's pickup games happen all the time, all over the place, and you can play anywhere. And I think sometimes there's a misunderstanding that you need a big, like, smooth green field or pitch to play soccer, and you can play anywhere. That's one of the messages and one of the educational pieces and developmental pieces of our after school programs is, okay, let's figure out where in this playground we can set up goals, and you can use a shoe. You can use two shoes and make a goal, and all you need is a ball, right? I'm preaching to the choir when I talk to you about this, but
excuse me, Bob. Yeah, I think you do it very well. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I always made a point of using somebody else's shoes so I could actually play mine. So there we go. But yeah, street soccer, futsal. The culture is the same. The game is the same. Camplify comes in with steam. It's a well-rounded, fun approach to the whole. Well, it's umbrellaed by football, right, Bob? The whole thing, right?
Yeah, it's a game within the game. I mean, the futsal can be 1-on-1, it could be 2-on-2, 3-on-3, but let's get our numbers together and divvy up and just play. Just throw a ball out there and play, and let's get the coaches out of the way too. That's ideal. If some of the best, our after school programs are some of our best experiences as coaches, because and we can get out and play with them, without having to build structure into it. There's a good example of one of our partners in the Park Hill neighborhood in Denver, the Park Hill Panthers. And, there's our coach, Nick McKellar, there in the background. He sort of helps them get set up. And this is a typical program where they're on grass there, but you can see behind them, there's a lot of concrete, and there's a basketball court behind them. And oftentimes they'll either play on that basketball court, or I think this last season at that school at Park Hill, there was actually a hockey program using the basketball court. So we found a space on the concrete when the grass wasn't quite ready to play on, and they just put new grass in. Right. We set up a space, set up some goals in the courtyard behind where those kids are. And at first they were all kind of looking at it kind of funny, like, well, we're not allowed to play here. And now it's become like, we do most of our activities are actually on concrete at that school because the kids prefer it. It's faster and it's more exciting. We get out on the grass and play still, but one of the big takeaways for those kids has been, you can play anywhere. I can play at home as long as it's safe, right? I mean, we don't have necessarily the opportunities or spaces that other countries have in our neighborhoods that are, clearly designated for pickup, and everybody shows up. So still there's, for better and worse, there's still a lot of parent and adult involvement in setting things up just to keep things safe. But wouldn't it be nice if we could get to the point where there were spaces and neighborhoods that kids just on their own would show up? And we have it with other sports, right? It happens with basketball. Yeah.
It's Bob Boyle, Mr. Electric. It's a revelation, creating a revolution. I just thought of that, Bob, anyway. So I could talk all day. Well, you know that anyway. So I've been quiet on this one, but I've got to say to you, Bob, thank you thank you for sharing. People get involved. Check out Mr. Electric, but I can't let you go. As you know, we're doing a quick fire 5 at you, Bob. So stand by. Here we go. If you could put Camplify, a 1-week camp, in any facility, anywhere on the planet, where would you put it, Bob, just for fun?
Amsterdam.
There you go. What's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Do not tell anyone what team you support, but they could sort of find out who it is. Who is your team, or your opinion, your team's greatest rival?
Man U.
Currently today, who's your biggest inspiration? Past, present, future? Who's the guy or gal?
Well, that's easy. That would be my dad.
And my final question is, would you be kind enough to leave everybody a message out there, our supporters, our fans, our followers, and I'm going to exit stage left or somewhere. Leave us with one final message, Bob, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, first of all, Rich, one message point I want to make, or I just want to say thank you for all you do for the soccer community in Denver, and for the invitation to be on your podcast here for the second time. I appreciate that very much. You always make it fun and conversational, and hopefully others have enjoyed the conversation. I know I have. But I guess the message we always like to, there's a couple of things that are simple that relate to growing and improving access to the game, not only in Denver, but in the U.S. And the game is just taking off here, and it's exciting for all of us that have been around the game in the U.S. for, I guess now I realize I'm going on 4 decades now. But all you need is a ball. That would be my message. All you need is a ball.
Hi, I'm Kate Haggerty. I live here in City Park, really close to East, and I have 3 kids. Camplify has been great. They're all very different. So I have one that's a big soccer fan, one that's really into art, and one that's into movies. So it kind of hit a high point for all of them.
Use your skill. Use your skill.